Yoo-hoo! It's the time for package from China. Hey, it's awesome that you're tuning in. Because there is a new brand in town, and this is also called the Game Box, but it is 8K Ultra HD set-top box. Doesn't make any sense because there was nothing to do with 8K. Maybe you can plug it into your 8K television, but in my opinion, everything that is not even running sometimes in 1080p. So what I'm actually going to get is just a complete kit with an Android stick, 2 controllers, the Bluetooth voice remote that we're not going to be using, an HD cable and a power cable. There is no adapter whatsoever most of the time. But what are we going to get is a very tiny, very cool looking game stick. They also say it over here, TV and game stick. What you need to do is unplug it and just plug it into your television. Give this thing some juice with the micro USB cable. And yep, you can just plug it in and you can just enjoy some retro games. The controllers, and with the controllers it's always a gamble, and this thing, man, this feels really cheap. Very strange plastic. The battery compartment, 2 AAA batteries, and on and off switch is the same configuration that I've seen many times before. But it is absolutely cheap quality. You can just feel it by holding it. It is possible that this thing doesn't fit in your television HDMI port, and it's great that I'm going to give you this extension because you can extend it and it's going to be way easier. Sometimes they're so thick they're going to be covering up 2 ports. Okay, so let's plug in the USB in my television. It's highly possible that it doesn't give you enough juice, so you need to use a separate 5-volt adapter. It's also a little bit more convenient because you can just turn it on and off through the adapter. Now when I'm going to plug it in, I'm going to use the extension cord for today. But if you're going to use it like this, when turning on the television, it automatically boot up the device itself. And after that load screen, we're going to be booting up in the system itself, where you can actually choose the game, the platform or platforming game, and just enjoy yourself. Nevertheless, it will take up a couple of seconds, but the configuration for each box is quite different. For example, with this one. You don't need to connect this thing to the internet, so what we're going to do is going into the game over here. By entering the game, we're going to get into the menu where we can choose our platform. The configuration is just different for each product, and it also includes for this. So this is the platform we're getting: GBA N64, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Classic, Super Famicom, Mega Drive, PlayStation Portable, Famicom, PlayStation 1, Neo Geo. Then we have Capcom systems, and of course, then have we of course beta set like we got in Main Arcade. When pressing L2 and R2 at the same time, we're going to get ourselves the search function. Let's see how fast it will search. Sometimes it takes forever. And of course the other thing I'm always like worried about, how is the display of the games. So let's say we're going to search for Mortal Kombat. It's very difficult to see my cursor, by the way. But let's get into this list. We're going to press all the way to the left. There is no way of seeing what kind of platform it is. It just actually shows the name. So this is absolutely garbage. Yeah, it even shows Digimon. What? Digimon? Tower of Monsters, there's nothing, so the search function doesn't work that great. Pressing select and start, we're going to get the quick save, quick load option for each single game. Here we're having different slots where we can quick load and quick save. And the joystick configuration over here. It's very limited with the stuff that you can do actually. So that's it. There is no way of configuring the emulators whatsoever. So you're stuck with what you're seeing over here. Also, when you're going to get into the list, it looks kind of basic. We're just going to get ourselves like 2 pictures. Getting this like multi-card feeling, by the way. But that's it. That's the only thing that we're going to get. Next up, let's try a little bit of the arcade part. Same story. Also here they have the same filter like with the 16-bit Super Famicom. But what I did notice that they didn't mess it up when it comes to the overall performance of the game. So all the sound effects are here. So what I did notice, there is no way of changing the aspect ratio. Here we're going to get into menu. The only thing we can do is mess with the joysticks, make a quick load, quick save, and that's it. Also, they have like this very strange cartoony looking layout over it. Absolutely horrible. The D-pad is quite sturdy, so it's not even comfortable to play for a basic beat 'em up. And I can tell you the graphics look absolutely horrible. Normally I'm not that nitpicky when it comes to certain like filters, but this looks really bad. I'll give him a close up. I know why they're doing this, because let's be honest, the pixelated games stretch out looks horrible, but this doesn't make it any better. Let's get into the gameplay shortly just to see what happens. And it seems to be that the game's actually like stabilizing to a certain point that we can actually play it and enjoy it. Everything has been configured correctly. I can use the acceleration and also use the joystick like it should be. But in the beginning it had a lot of problems. So let's jump into the PlayStation Portable. Still one of my favorite systems to play, not on these devices, because they do struggle a lot with it. Implemented frame skipping and a lot of slowdown, or at least like speed ups. But yeah, so I think that is not going to be enjoyable. Two-dimensional games will most of the time run fine. But yeah, they're like not really demanding when it comes to the chipset itself. Pressing select and start, there is no option getting into the emulator. For example, if you're going to choose the joystick, we can change out some things, but in the end we cannot change out something in the emulator. A little bit of bummer, maybe with some tweaking we get a little bit better performance, but that's what we're going to get with PlayStation Portable. Okay, so let's get into some PlayStation 1. Let's see if everything has been configured correctly. Yep, like the original games, because we're actually playing with a PlayStation controller now. They also included the soundtrack, so they just added the game like it should be. Sometimes if they're missing the audio files, we just have like a silent game. But all the way up to PlayStation, we do get great performance like always, or most of the time. Why a lot of stuff doesn't run great. Well, a lot of these, let's say, devices run on, let's say, newer chips, or at least like quite powerful ones that run most of the stuff. This runs on the Allwinner H313. That is something I personally didn't see. I think it's the first time in many boxes that I've seen this. This is the PCB revision. Let's check out 1.4. I'm saying it correctly. 1.4.1. So it's a very tiny, cool piece of tech, of course, but that's the only thing what we're going to get. So let's slap it together and let's talk about what we're actually going to get with this, because I must say there are some things that I really don't like. But what do I think of this new kind of a product? It's a weird situation where we're having the Android box and the Emulation part just combined together. I'm just going to be honest, it's a plug and play solution, but when you're looking at the overall performance, it's quite bad. The controller itself is very cheap quality and it doesn't play comfortable at all. So the overall experience where you're not paying a lot for this product is not great, and I was not really satisfied with it. There are so many different options out there, but in my opinion, besides this thing is plug and play, this is not one of the best ways. Thank you all for watching, consider subscribing, hit that little bell, and it would be great to see you in the next video.